Early this morning in Texas, 53-year-old Andrew Joseph Stack replaced the website for his small software engineering company with a 5,000-word, fairly incoherent screed about the evils of the IRS and a lot of other more or less coherent things that made him feel victimized and alienated and angry. Mr. Stack apparently then set fire to his own house. He then drove to an airport, got into a Piper Cherokee single-engine airplane, and then he crashed it into a building in northwest Austin, Texas. It's a building that houses federal offices, including those of the IRS. The pilot was killed. 13 people on the scene were injured, 2 of them critically. An FBI spokesman has told the Austin American-Statesman that another body was recovered from the scene after the recovery of the body of Mr. Stack, the pilot. Law enforcement officials quickly declared this a criminal act, putting it jurisdictionally under the FBI, not under the NTS, the National Transportation Safety Administration, which would handle accidental plane crashes. Incredibly, a Facebook group was started moments after Mr. Stack's name surfaced. It featured the "Don't Tread on Me" flag and a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." People on the right posting things on that Facebook site like, quote, "The government should fear the people, not the other way around." Lest anyone try to find political comfort or confirmation in the incoherent, suicidal rantings of a man setting off to do something like this, let it also be noted that Mr. Stack ended his manifesto cum suicide note with this, quote, "The communist creed, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. The capitalist creed, from each according to his gullibility, to each according to his greed." As one more liberal commentator on the Joe Stack Facebook page wrote today with sarcasm, quoting Marx while denouncing taxes? Genius. The creators of that Facebook page tell us tonight that they had not yet seen Mr. Stack's line invoking communism when they started this Facebook group in support of him. Well, we had a producer on the phone talking with them. During that conversation, that Facebook page disappeared, Facebook taking it down today just after 6 p.m. Eastern. Joining us now is NBC's Andrea Mitchell. Andrea, thank you for being here, helping us sort this out.
It is so crazy. The whole thing is so crazy and so tragic. But clearly a criminal act, the FBI, and domestic, not terrorism, not the CIA.
And that decision was made very early in the day, it seems.
They figured it out. The key clue, of course, was that the house was on fire. Once they realized that this was the same person who had burned down his house, this is all presumptive, unless some other evidence comes out, because he died, presumably, although there has not been DNA testing, they presume that he died in this crash. They do have a body.
A lot of what we've learned about Joe Stack came from sort of internet forensics, people digging around and finding the trail online. Do you get the sense that the federal government is ahead of or behind the general internet public right now when it comes to these sorts of investigations? A lot of what I learned, first, I was hearing rumors about online before I ever heard it confirmed by officials.
Well, there were so many people, including all of us, journalists and citizen journalists, all sorts of people, the online community, looking at this. We don't know exactly what the federal government had. The FBI and the CIA do work together at a counterterrorism center, as you know, and so they know whether to hand off, who to take the lead on something like this. They quickly, what they do is they go back and look at possible threat nexus leading up to an event such as this. That's how they quickly try to sort through something that they may have overlooked, some threat from some foreign connection. They very quickly figured out that Major Hassan had a foreign connection. In this case, it was not, and then clearly it was domestic once they found this manifesto. I don't know who was first with it, but 3,000 words clearly talking about years and years, decades of grievances against the IRS.
Some of which made some sense, at least in the sense that they made sense rationally, some of which didn't make any sense. It was hard to follow any real, I mean, I think people instantly, which was the case, I think, with this Facebook book, were looking for some sort of clear political message or clear political signal here. You can't find that in the Unabomber manifesto. I don't believe you can find that here.
That's what this immediately reminded me of. And just a point about Facebook, because as you noticed, your producer, we were all looking through these postings, and they came down around 6 o'clock. Yeah. So Pete Williams, who has been working on this all day, got in touch with Facebook, and they did give us a response to why they took it down. And they basically said, in response to our questions, that they have a team that removes content that violates their policies, which include content that's hateful, makes actionable threats, or includes nudity, pornography. And in line with that policy, quote, "We removed several groups supporting Joseph Stack's actions that were themselves credible threats of future violence. Other groups remain online," which were, when they last checked, not overtly threatening. So they're saying that there are some. They were not censoring, but they do have
threatening nature of.
They do have policies, and they did find that some of this was objectionable.
In terms of this being a lone wolf action, and as you say, not seeming to have any foreign connections, seeming to be a troubled, mentally ill man with a lot of grievances, some seemingly real, some seemingly imagined. What happens in law enforcement in terms of the next steps in terms of dealing with lone wolf threats like this?
Well, had he survived, there would be a clear series of events. I think this will be an investigation to see what led up to make sure that there is no conspiracy, that there are no other people involved. His wife, and there's a child involved. There had been a domestic dispute, according to neighbors and other authorities. So there's a lot of sadness here and some tragic survivors. But they'll have to nail all this down. But if he was, in fact, a lone wolf, then there won't obviously be any criminal
loose ends to tie up. Yeah. NBC News correspondent, the host of MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell Reports, which is at 1 p.m. Eastern every day here on MSNBC, and which I enjoy very much. Thank you.
Always great.
Appreciate it, Andrea. In the first 3 quarters of the year 2009, the 6 largest publicly held health insurance companies in this country dropped 2.2 million customers, which it turns out has been great for the bottom line. Welcome to America's future without health reform. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius joins us for the interview next.